Yo mensen, zijn we dan? Hello Neighbor Story Explained. Ik zag een video van deze man voorbij komen van Hello Neighbor Story Explained. En deze wil ik dus gewoon met jullie gaan bekijken, want het explaint dus Hello Neighbor Story. Hij heeft ook gemaakt over Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek en Hello Neighbor 2. Maar dit gaat echt puur om Hello Neighbor 1. Dus Hide and Seek wordt er niet bij betrokken. Alleen wat je hier ziet, zeg maar. Dus ja, laten we het gewoon kijken.
Hello Neighbor is about personal and internal demons who we nurture along the way, with the only way defeating them to face them and conquer them. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator. You can follow me on Twitter where you can send me game suggestions. This video will contain spoilers. With that said, let's begin.
Oké, daar gaan we.
Nicky Roth, the neighborhood kid, accidentally hears cries for help coming from his neighbor's house. He peeks through the window and witnesses the struggles of Mr. Peterson, looking an unseen person into the basement. Mr. Peterson breaks down crying, but then soon recollects himself and suddenly notices Nicky and catches him. This provides Nicky with some backstory of what happened to Mr. Peterson in a nightmare fashion. In a tragic accident, Mr. Peterson seemingly lost his wife, hinted out as a high heel is lying randomly on the street.
Dat is het dus. Ik zat ervan toen ik die kutting kreeg van wat is dat nou? Maar dat is dus de schoen of de hak van de vrouw van de buurman. De buurvrouw eigenlijk. That makes sense.
With him slowly approaching his crashing car. Another nightmare shows how Mr. Peterson buried his wife and became the wreck he is now. As
Dus de vrouw is in het begraven. Ik zat even, wie begraaft die? Maar ja, de vrouw.
seen through his breakdowns and his car crashed into the garden fence. There are several child missing posters of two children, a girl and a boy, who seem to have been the children of Mr. Peterson. As Nicky manages to sneak into Mr. Peterson's house and open the locked basement door, he witnesses a heavily secured room with paintings of outside, creating an illusion of windows. There's a mattress in the middle of the room and empty cans of food, seemingly someone being held captive here.
En dat is dan de zoon van de buurman. Maar ja, ik denk dat de buurman. Ja. Want de buurman is zijn vrouw en zijn dochter kwijtgeraakt. Ik denk dat hij zijn zoon alleen maar wilde beschermen, omdat het de laatste familielid is die hij nog heeft. Of in ieder geval gezinslid heeft. Is die de laatste gezinslid is die hij nog heeft.
As Nicky explores more, he encounters a door with 3 different padlocks, colored red, green, and yellow, when suddenly Mr. Peterson reaches him and captures him. Nicky wakes up on the mattress in the basement, which seems to be a few weeks later, at least, as he's missing a shoe and his sock has holes in it, depicting passage of time. As Nicky manages to get out of the house, he is shocked with the spectacle of what Mr. Peterson has built. He has erected high-rising fence panels with nets and barbed wires, presumably to keep Nicky in.
Want ja, als Nicky zou ontsnappen, zou hij tegen de politie zeggen van deze man heeft me vastgehouden. En hij is in principe het levende bewijs.
Nicky has few nightmares while confined within the neighbor's premise. One nightmare shows what a large theme park-like house Mr. Peterson has built, which he then gets on a rail cart. There's a cutout board of a boy, which seems to be the son of Theodore or Mr. Peterson, with a final cutout board of a girl, which the cart pushes away at the top of the rail.
Ja, zo'n vermoeden had ik ook al in het spel. Van dus toen dacht ik volgens mij de vrouw, maar dat de vrouw van het dak af heeft genomen. Maar dit is dus Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek Act 5, waar de zoon de dochter eraf duwt. Want hij zegt ook, die cardboardman, dat is waarschijnlijk de zoon. En dit is de dochter die eraf wordt gegooid. En het all makes sense now. Als je kijkt naar Hello Neighbor 2, Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek Act 5.
With 2 cutout board hands protracting from the cart. This in a way suggests the son of Mr. Peterson, who could have pushed away the daughter, whether literally or metaphorically.
Precies.
Another nightmare shows more details of Mr. Peterson's down spiral to insanity and mental breakdown. It shows a hospital bed, presumably of his wife, after the accident, with him slowly losing hopes in the waiting room, showing how he became an impatient, bitter man after the loss of his wife.
Ja, want basically, hij is gewoon verdrietig.
After some time, Nicky manages to escape in fear, with Mr. Peterson giving him a deep, dirty look as he runs, which leads to PTSD in Nicky, which he carries to his adulthood. Several years later, Nicky has grown up to be an adult, living in an apartment by himself. He suddenly receives a letter, which is an eviction notice, leaving him with no other option than to go back to his childhood home.
Ja, want die brief stond in het Russisch volgens mij. Maar dit is dan zo dat hij eigenlijk uit zijn huis wordt geplaatst. En dan is hij dakloos en dan moet hij terug naar zijn oude huis.
In there, he witnesses the once lively suburban neighborhood succumbing to a dilapidated, abandoned-like state. Mr. Peterson's house has become completely demolished, which he feels the necessity to check out and maybe overcome his fears he obtained long ago. A mysterious shadow lurks in this place, which follows Nicky around, causing him to have a panic attack and his vision becoming blurry.
Ik was helemaal vergeten dat Shadowman een ding was. Dan gaan we nu eens achter wat is Shadowman precies? Dus ik hoop dat we erachter gaan komen.
It's a possibility that Mr. Peterson ran away from his house after being found out to have locked Nicky in his basement.
Wat nou? Is Nicky dus ontsnapt? Heeft de politie ingelicht? En dan hebben we 2 zien dat de politie bij zijn huis is. Dan hebben ze wel zonder hekken dan. Maar goed. En is de buurman gevlucht naar het museum met zijn zoon? Oh shit, daar zit wat in.
To run away from the authorities. Nicky recollects himself and heads back to his abandoned childhood home, with the windows being boarded up. He seems fidgety and on edge, staring at the site where his neighbor's house used to be on. The telephone then suddenly rings, with strange sounds being heard. Nicky looks through the window, seeing the shadow-like figure looking at him across the road, which terrifies him, forcing himself to sleep to maybe feel better. In his sleep, he dreams of the neighbor boarding up a door with screams heard from the other side. The neighbor looks at Nicky, which suddenly wakes him up. As he awakens,
Klopt, ja. Ik kan me nog herinneren. Dat ik dacht echt zo van, hoe is dit in één keer een huis? Maar het is dus gewoon een nachtmerrie van Nicky.
he finds himself in a well-repaired, furnished house with a massive house built across from him, where his neighbor's house used to be. As he goes inside the house, he comes across a room with several CCTV monitors and paintings of eyes, portraying how Nicky feels like he's being watched
Zo heb ik het nog nooit gezien eigenlijk.
all the time by Mr. Peterson, even after several years since he escaped him. Mr. Peterson himself is present in this house, yet again chasing after Nicky, creating a surreal experience that might be happening in Nicky's head. Nicky unlocks a door with a red padlock on, similar to one of the padlocks on the door with 3
Oh shit, ja. Ik heb het nog nooit beseft eigenlijk. Wow.
different colored padlocks. The world then suddenly becomes very large, or maybe Nicky becomes extremely small. A metaphor to how he might have seen himself in Mr. Peterson's house when he was younger.
Ja, dus hij voelde zich klein tegenover de buurman.
He manages to overcome the obstacles in the room and get back to his normal size. Nicky then picks up a green key and subsequently opens a door with a green padlock. Yet again, similar to another padlock on the basement door. In there, he encounters a classroom-like sinister place infested with moving mannequins on a periodic time intervals, stopping and moving when a classroom bell rings. This might portray how strict Mr. Peterson was when homeschooling Nicky during his confinement.
De buurman gaf les aan Nicky en de buurman was streng. Dus de buurman heeft Nicky dus wel geholpen. Dus de buurman is wel een good guy dus, of niet?
Or simply Nicky's fear of school. The next segment of this room portrays Nicky's fear of supermarkets and shopping, as he carries a shopping cart with him, with hostile mannequins all around him. After managing to escape this room with the green padlock, Nicky then could encounter an out-of-map graveyard with Mr. Peterson's wife's grave being visible. Finally,
Dat hebben we nooit gezien. Nou ja, ik ga nog een hele doormaken waar ik alle secrets en achievements ga halen. Misschien dat ik het dan vind, maar ik heb het nog nooit gezien.
Nicky is able to go through the basement door, which teleports him into a surreal version of the actual basement he was trapped in several years before. In there, he sees the shadow figure emitting lights from his eyes, looking for him. Nicky manages to go through the door with 3 different colored padlocks, which shows the room with the mattress with a cutout board of Mr. Peterson's son, depicting who Mr. Peterson was locking there before Nicky found out and ended up having the same fate. Looking through the windows, Nicky witnesses a gigantic version of Mr. Peterson staring at him, portraying how small Nicky sees himself in front of him.
Dat is dan weer die veer met de red key, dat Nicky klein is.
Mr. Peterson destroys the room, which allows Nicky to leave whilst being chased by him. Mr. Peterson in here has his house behind his back, which is a display of the pain of loss of his family, which he carries on his back, weighing
Zo heb ik dat altijd bekeken. Deze man is goed.
down on him. The house being a constant dark reminder of when he lost his family. Nicky manages to go to the house on Mr. Peterson's back, which teleports him to a dark, eerie place, overflooded with missing child posters and a large dark shadow figure being ever present. The shadow figure follows Mr. Peterson around as he's spreading the posters while crying and drinking. The house on Mr. Peterson's back is a representation of his mind and how much he suffered for the loss of his family. Nicky then teleports into a different reality and observes his child self playing in a third perspective view, sitting in front of large windows. Looking out of the window, the small shadow figure festers and becomes larger, which terrifies the child Nicky, who runs around. The shadow follows him and breaks parts of the construction in front of him. The adult Nicky can protect the child Nicky by standing in front of him, preventing the shadow figure hitting him. The more and more Nicky faces off the shadow figure, the larger and larger he becomes, until he's bigger than the shadow figure. It's only at that point that the shadow stops punching the construction and disappears. This teleports Nicky to a white space with a house, which is where Mr. Peterson is trapped within. He has barricaded a door, which has the shadow figure in, with Mr. Peterson being terrified and crying, having different variations of fears himself. The adult Nicky then wakes up in his house, who seems happier and sees the world in a different light. He proceeds to unload his stuff from his car while whistling and deciding to finally have a good life.
Ja, want hij heeft de veer van de buurman geslagen, dus hij is niet meer bang.
Hey.
Oké, dus dit worden dan theorieën. Even ter informatie. Een theorie is dus iets wat mogelijk zo is, niet dat het zo is.
According to the cutout board, Mr. Peterson's son was trapped within the basement, which Nicky sees, leading to him being trapped as well, not to tell on him and inform the authorities. After several years, it's clear that Nicky's short experience, being locked in their neighbor's basement, left a massive toll on him, giving him severe anxiety and PTSD, looking at the world in a depressing tone, and still carrying a sharp fear of his neighbor, even being an adult now and larger than the neighbor. Despite that, at the end he sees the neighbor being a giant, displaying how terrified he still is of him. The locked door with 3 different colors of padlocks, leading to the room with fake windows and mattress, definitely left a severe impression on Nicky, who faces each padlock one by one in the imaginary house he enters, where he faces individual fears of himself, such as school and supermarket. The shadow that lurked in the ruins of Mr. Peterson's house, which followed Nicky in his dream, tormenting both Mr. Peterson and Nicky, is the representation of fear, both in different variations. For Nicky, his fear of being imprisoned by Mr. Peterson, and for Mr. Peterson, his fear of loss and loneliness.
Ja, want de buurman is gewoon een good guy. Hij wil niet alleen zijn, dus beschermt hij ze zo.
The finale, Nicky faces off his crippling fear embodied in the shadow figure. After each hit and standing against it, he becomes larger and larger until he becomes bigger than his fear, destroying it, letting his childhood victim become finally free. Therefore, his imagination taking him to the neighbor's house, facing him and the doors with different padlocks, was the only way he could overcome his anxiety and PTSD, which eventually makes him happy and lets him live the life he wants to live, without the massive fear burdening him anymore. This is portrayed in the world, being seen in brighter colors. This leaves Mr. Peterson, who's still tormented by his fear, the loss of his wife and children.
Ik heb die foto ook nooit gezien. Nou ja, soort van in Hello Neighbor 2 Act 2 geloof ik. Maar niet in Hello Neighbor zelf, dat is Hello Neighbor 1. Misschien dat ik hem vind.
He's trapped in a house, constantly being reminded of it. There's a secret ending that breaks him free, but we'll leave that for another video.
Secret ending? Oh nee, die heb ik gezien. Dat is wel een custom mode. Dat is echt een custom mode, secret ending.
That's it for today's video, folks.
Oké, op naar hide and seek. Oké, gaan we. Hello Neighbor hide and seek story and ending explained. Let's go.
Hello Neighbor encompasses the
Sorry.
tragic tale of Peterson family and Nicky Roth, a family that had something many people only could dream of, a loving and close relationship which is only dismantled after a tragedy.
Het hoofd van de vrouw. Wanneer kunnen we dat zien? What the fuck?
In Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek, Maya Peterson spends her time playing with her beloved brother, enjoying life and spending their remaining time with their loving parents, until the day it all changes for the worst. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator, You can follow me on Twitter and send me game suggestions such as this one. You could also become a member where I post exclusive content such as horror visual novels and creepypasta. Hello Neighbor was the highest requested game by you folks in the latest poll. Therefore, this video will contain spoilers about the Hello Neighbor series. With that in mind, let's begin.
Let's go.
Aaron and Maya Peterson, two loving siblings, run around and play together as children do. Diane Peterson, or Mrs. Peterson, is busy making lunch while Mr. Peterson is busy on the phone. They are a happy family, something anyone can only dream of. Aaron and Maya decide to play a hide-and-seek game, which displays the vivid imagination of the kids while they play. They transform their house into a large forest in their minds and carry on playing. After a short while, the time turns into lunchtime when Mrs. Peterson fetches the kids and asks them to come to the table. They all sit down together, kids, and ask...
Ze heeft die hakken aan. Dus het is echt die hakken van die vrouw die je in Hello Neighbor 1 zag.
them to come to the table. They all sit down together, having a deliciously home-cooked meal, and spend the day together as if it's the best day ever, and only spending more time together makes their days better and better. Next day, Aaron and Maya decide to play cop and thief, with Maya being the thief. Yet again, their imagination takes them to a surreal metropolitan city where they enjoy their little game. The clock turns to lunchtime again, and as the kids expect the mother to come into their room and call them for lunch, they don't see her. Curious to where their mother is, they go to the dining room and don't see any sight of their parents. They place 4 plates on the table, patiently waiting for their parents, but as time passes, they grow worried.
Pew, pew, pew.
Dat blijft echt stom klinken hoor. Pieuw, pieuw, pieuw.
Huh?
Next day, Aaron picks up their telephone to call their parents, but the line doesn't connect. Unsure to where they are, they stay optimistic and try to occupy their time. Aaron, bored of waiting, creates a firefighter helmet and acts as the fire for her sister to put off. This starts a new game where their imagination takes them to a large, surreal, burning world where Maya is acting as a firefighter. As they finish playing and it becomes the lunchtime, they hear the main door open and they happily rush down to greet their missing parents. Instead of both, only Mr. Peterson enters the house, holding Mrs. Peterson's purse. Mr. Peterson drops to his knees and lets out a big sigh, conveying how Mrs. Peterson passed away after a car accident. And all this time, Mr. Peterson was in the hospital, praying and hoping for his wife to stay alive.
Even, deze cutscenes zijn volgens mij custom made. Dat is echt heel goed gemaakt.
So they can continue on, having their own...
Ik bedoel dan bijvoorbeeld die in de auto, of met die foto. Dat bedoel ik, niet letterlijk van de game zelf.
Forgettable time together. The children embrace the broken father, not yet fully understanding the gravity of this tragedy. The father places only 3 plates on the table, with the absence of Mrs. Peterson being fully felt, as the mood of the table is sad, with only expressions of loss being worn. In the late evening, Mr. Peterson is observed by Maya sat alone in a single armchair, snoring in front of the TV. Aaron is upstairs, venting out his anger and feelings of loss on the furniture, breaking anything he gets his hands on. Eventually, he drops and bursts out crying, slowly understanding he will never feel the warmth of his mother's caring embrace or nighttime calming lullabies, being ensured that he would be safe and loved. Maya slowly approaches Aaron and tries to calm him down, but instead, he gets startled and pushes Maya away. But right after, he urges Maya to play together. Their imagination takes them to a somber-colored cemetery, where Aaron chases after Maya with a toy gun. As it's time for food, the kids finish their game, where Aaron loses control and repeatedly shoots Maya with the toy gun.
Eigenlijk is Aaron gewoon een beetje de buurman, maar dan in hide and seek. In de zin als van, Aaron is nu helemaal out of control. En dan als Maya doodgaat, dan is de buurman helemaal out of control. Dus eigenlijk is de zoon ook wel het meest gehecht aan de vader, denk ik.
Assaulting her to the point of her begging for mercy and becoming terrified. Aaron suddenly comes to his senses, shocked to his own actions. But his ego gets the better of him, not accepting what a destructive mess he's becoming. It only becomes worse when the father instead of the mother calls them to the table, with a gloomy, sad face, which makes Aaron become angry. On the table, Aaron, still angry about the situation, starts teasing Maya to the point of pushing her with her plate falling and breaking. This only angers Mr. Peterson, who commands Aaron to leave the table. As Aaron leaves, he takes Maya's doll and mocks her.
Ja, maar wat ik nog steeds vind, dan mag je wel je moeder kwijt zijn. Heel lullig voor je, weet je wel. Ik snap al je gevoelens, al je boosheid. Maar je hoeft je niet als een klootzak te gedragen, want hij gedraagt zich nu gewoon als een pestkop.
Which incites Maya to go after him, but the father instructs her to let the situation pass and for her to stay at the table. After the food, Maya goes to the room where she finds Aaron crying on his bunk bed under a blanket.
1 seconde.
Where she finds Aaron crying on his bunk bed under a blanket. She pulls the blanket and requests her doll back, but Aaron insists on playing a game of hide and seek if she wants the doll, forcing Maya to be the seeker. Maya reluctantly accepts and goes after Aaron. After some time, she finds her doll on the roof of the house, with her imagination making the height of the house much higher, being above the clouds. She calmly embraces her doll.
Wat ik nog steeds vind is van, leuk dat je hier knuffel hebt, maar ga van het dak af, weet je wel.
As if she's reassuring it that it'll be safe. As she tries to go to the safety of the inside, Aaron blocks her way, putting her at the edge of the roof. In anger, Aaron knocks off Maya's doll from her hand, throwing it to the ground. He then accidentally bumps Maya, who loses her footing and
Nou, maar dat ziet er niet accidentally uit, eerlijk. Misschien deed hij het expres om te beseffen wat hij deed.
falls off the roof. When everything goes in slow motion, she observes the terrified look on her brother's face, while she hears a soothing melody, as if she'll be okay from now on. She wouldn't have to suffer the pain of feeling of loss and the sadness of her father and brother. Mr. Peterson then wears his thick leather gloves and starts digging a grave in his backyard, wearing an emotionless expression, burying Maya, with Aaron watching behind closed doors.
Maar waarom in de tuin? Dat snap ik niet.
Presumably being stuck in the basement, while his short-lived sweet life, spent with his once existing family, flashes right before him. this eventually leads to
Holy shit, dit is goed gemaakt, ouwe. What the fuck? Ik vind er bijna verdrietig van. Dit is zo droevig.
Mr. Peterson locking his son in the basement due to him becoming extremely destructive and unpredictable, which is witnessed by Nicky Roth, the neighborhood kid, whose curiosity ends up with them getting kidnapped by an unstable Mr. Peterson, leading to Nicky sustaining a long-term PTSD, and with Mr. Peterson running away from the
Dit zagen we net al, maar ik ga het alsnog kijken. Misschien geeft hij nieuwe informatie vanwege hide and seek.
neighborhood. I have made a couple of videos about Hello Neighbor 1, which you can watch by hitting the cards above. That's it for today's video, folks. If you enjoyed it, make sure to stay tuned by hitting the subscribe button and
Oké. Wauw. Deze cutscenes zijn goed gemaakt, ouwe. Nou, op de Hello Neighbor 2. Oké, tijd voor Hello Neighbor 2.
Hello Neighbor 2 expands on the story of Theodore Peterson, a family man who lost his family, on how he trapped his only living family member in the basement of his house, then subsequently in an abandoned museum to protect him from the authorities. Mr. Peterson's story is a tale of tragedy and sadness which could be overcome or at least battled, but for Mr. Peterson, it becomes an overshadowing enemy that lurks in the shadows and torments him. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator, and welcome to Hello Neighbor 2, one of the most anticipated games of mine this year. If you have any game or video suggestions, make sure to send them to me on my subreddit or Twitter. Keep in mind that this video will have spoilers of the entire franchise, and with that said, let's begin.
Oké, dus misschien ga ik nu even in het kort uitleggen wat er is gebeurd.
I have made several videos about Hello Neighbor franchise, which you can watch by hitting on the cards above to keep up to date on what happened. Mr. Theodore Peterson arrives at the quiet town of Ravenbrooks with his family, Diane, his wife, Aaron and Maya, his two children. Life has never been too easy for Mr. Peterson, as one of his later designs of a thrill.
Wacht.
Life has never been too easy for Mr.
Disgraced engineer quits, blames accident on the company.
Peterson, as one of his later designs of a
Titel.
thrill park.
Wacht! The rights of the sign, een pretpark. Hello guest. Het krijg meneer, dat was een pretpark. Was dat van hem?
Attraction right malfunctioned, causing an accident which ultimately led to a tragedy. This led to Theodore struggling to find jobs and made amends for his mistakes, clearing his stained reputation. A big move to a new town where no one knew him seemed to be the ideal decision, where he alongside his family could start a new life. Little would he know, however, as that his new life would be anything but peaceful and happy. One feral day, after one of Aaron and Maya's usual imaginative games, time passes on with no sign of their parents being back home for their usual lunchtime. Waiting patiently for a while, Theodore comes back home alone without the mother, explaining how they were involved in a car accident leading to the death of Diane Peterson. This breaks both Maya and Aaron, with Aaron becoming heavily affected by this loss, who slowly starts exhibiting repressed resentment towards his father, venting out his anger on the only person he could, his innocent and kind sister, Maya, by being really rough and mean to her. After time and time battling his demons, yet succumbing to them and being more rough to Maya, he takes one step further and lures his sister to the rooftop, playing with her favorite doll, taunting her. This, as despite fully knowing Maya is scared of heights, which is visualized through her perspective, and the distance to the ground is heavy.
Oh, dat makes sense, ja. Het ziet er extra hoog uit omdat Maya bang is voor hoogtes.
over-exaggerated, with them being seen to be in the clouds. That's when Aaron makes his biggest mistake in life, which would change him forever, with Maya accidentally slipping, leading to her falling, with the family shrinking to only two, who have suffered the loss of the two most joyful members of their family. Peterson's family being shrunk to two mentally scarred members, Theodore and Aaron, who blame themselves for the death of Maya and Diane, become versions of themselves whom they never could have imagined. Aaron losing his mind, Theodore thinks of the only option possible to keep him safe, trapping him in the basement to prevent him from getting arrested and locked away for accidentally causing the death of Maya, while Theodore does the unimaginable, burying his
En daar is ook weer een hakje. Is dat van de dochter of van de moeder?
own daughter in his backyard to avoid any questioning from public. Things don't get any easier from this point onwards, as a neighborhood kid known as Nicky Roth has befriended Theodore's son Aaron a while ago, being familiar with the family. One day, Nicky starts hearing strange sounds coming from Peterson's house when he notices Theodore locking someone in the basement before starting to break down into tears. His curiosity gets the better of him, trying to investigate the house and who could be locked in, when Theodore traps him in the basement as well in order to keep Aaron safe. This leads to more problems and issues, leading to the second half of the first game, with Hello Neighbor 2 seemingly being the events that directly followed after this. This is when
Oké, dus Hello Neighbor 2 speelt af na act 2 van Hello Neighbor 1. Oké.
an investigative journalist known as Quentin starts to investigate, trying to find out the missing children of the town, Aaron and Maya Peterson, whom nobody knows where they could be, as Theodore reported them to be missing rather than one being dead and the other being locked in the basement.
Oké, daar gaan we. 1 seconde. Ik heb echt jeuk aan mijn oor.
The story begins with Quentin, the protagonist of the game, arriving at the Ravenbrooks town, opening his journal of how the missing children in question are Maya and Aaron, with Quentin having a few suspects in mind, including the children's father, Theodore. Watching Theodore's house from a distance, he notices how he takes Aaron, his missing child, into the house by force, depicting how he is the one who's been hiding him, and falsely claiming that he's missing. Trying to collect more evidence by taking pictures, Theodore notices Quentin snooping around. Theodore, as a result, gets close enough to his van to break his window by a shovel that he used to bury Maya, which causes Quentin to get nervous and drive off quickly, just to see an obscured figure appearing in the middle of the road, having
Ja, de kraai. Maar wat heeft die dan te maken met het Hello Neighbor 2 precies? Want we weten de einde van de kraai. Maar wat is hij hier te zoeken nu? Wat heeft hij hier mee te maken?
a crow mask on. Trying to avoid hitting this character, Quentin reacts as quick as he can, but as a result crashes into a nearby barn belonging to Mr. Peterson. As soon as he exits the barn, Theodore attacks him with a shovel, with the last thing Quentin remembering being that Theodore removed the film from his camera, getting rid of any evidence that he is the one who is hiding Aaron. As after all, Theodore is desperately trying to protect the only family he has left, his son, as he
Ja, zie je wel. Hij beschermt zijn zoon. Hij wil hem niet gevangen nemen, maar hij beschermt hem voor het geval dat hij misschien ook dood gaat ineens. Ja.
seems to be cursed with bad luck. Quentin then awakens in the Ravenbrooks banner station with his head wrapped in bandage, not remembering how he ended up here. He then gets back to his investigation, but he comes across a police officer known as Keith Nelson, having off-limited Peterson's house, already being on his case, looking for him, while it seems Theodore has vanished and left his house. Quentin not being able to continue his investigation with the police present, he tries to snoop around, especially as he doesn't necessarily have good relations with the police officers, finding Quentin to be more nuisance than help. Managing to sneak his way into Peterson's house, he finds hundreds of missing posters for Aaron and Maya, revealing.
Maar wat ik niet snap, hè. Ja, ik snap dat de politieagent er dan geen boos wordt. Maar als het Quentin uiteindelijk lukt om die basement deur te openen, waarom wordt de politieagent er nog eens boos? Want de politieagent kan het nog verder investigeren.
How it's been Theodore himself who has been spreading these posters to seemingly misdirect the authorities from holding him as a suspect. After some exploration, Quentin comes across a local newspaper article of the local museum closing with its keys being stolen, which gives him a good idea of where Theodore might be hiding. As soon as he leaves the house, a paper plane hits him, being Aaron's missing poster with writing saying "Help me," as if being written by Aaron himself, who is being held captive by Theodore, who wants to protect him by locking him away. After investigating some of the suspects of the town, who all seem to have secrets of their own, the mayor, Mr. Otto, the taxidermist, and the townsbaker.
Bro, de mayor, Mr. Otto, de taxidermist en de baker. Wie de fuck is Otto?
Their own. The mayor, Mr. Otto, the taxidermist, and the townsbaker.
Otto is de taxidermist. Oh, okay.
Greta, Quentin decides to investigate the museum. He follows the trail of these paper planes leading to the museum, indicating how Aaron must be in there, throwing these paper planes from a high level as they fly so far away. So possibly he could be trapped in the attic this time around.
Oh, zal ik er niet eens bekeken dat hij zo ver gooit dat hij in de attic zit?
As Quentin explores the abandoned museum, he finds Theodore's shovel, which he used to knock Quentin out, which leads to him strangely passing out and reawakening back in the station, having a realistic nightmare of Theodore hunting him.
Ja, dat was een nightmare. Ik zeg je, toen ik dat voor het eerst zag, ik schrok me echt dood.
Going back to the museum, the evidence leading him there seemed to be correct, as Quentin finds Theodore residing in there temporarily to hide from the police until their investigation is concluded. Soon, Quentin finds a portrait of Aaron and Theodore, which leads to another nightmare with Aaron being forcefully taken, which awakens Quentin yet again back in the station. Going back to the museum once more, he manages to bypass the angry and vigilant Theodore, going to the attic where he finds an elaborately constructed cell where Aaron has been kept in.
Aaron has been playing with a doll replica of his sister, may revealing how broken he truly became after her death. Still trying to play with his playmate Maya. Ah, hij speelt met een popje van de zus, dat had ik niet eens gezien. Oh shit.
All this time. With the passage of time, Aaron exhibits fear and insecurities, portraying how insecure he has become, not trusting strangers and finding it difficult to make connections. His unclean and not looked after appearance also suggests neglect and how he has not been taken care of by Theodore. Nonetheless, a caring Quentin takes his hand when Theodore arrives, violently attacking Quentin and throwing him in the cell, with Quentin using this time as a distraction for Aaron to run away. Theodore quickly chases after Aaron, giving Quentin some time to find a way out. As Quentin manages to break open the door, he finds Aaron hiding under a table when he holds his hand, wanting to lead him outside. Aaron, instead of walking out with him, shows reluctance and uncertainty, as after all, he's been locked and mistreated by his own father, someone whom should be trusted the most, making a young Aaron rightfully very confused. Quentin reassures Aaron and shows him kindness, which makes him more confident to leave, but that's when Theodore appears, trying to get Aaron back, when all of a sudden the crow statue above him falls on him, pinning Theodore to the ground. This causes a broken Aaron, who also lost.
Ja, ik denk dat Krijmeneer met het spel te maken heeft, zonder hij als karakter, want er staat altijd wel kraaien. Kraaien boven het museum, van hier moet je heen. In Hello Label, Alpha 1 en Alpha 1.5 en Guest was sowieso de kraai. Was het helemaal kraai. Ik denk dat dat meer op Krijmeneer heeft. Ik denk niet op de karakter, maar om het idee.
Most of his family run to his father's aid to ensure his safety, as after all, despite the toxicity of Theodore and his mental breakdown, Aaron still has the strongest connection with him, as Theodore is his father at the end of it all, no matter what he would do to him. Just as Quentin watches a badly manipulated and scared Aaron embrace his father, an unknown character from behind whose shadow is only visible hits Quentin from behind, giving him a concussion, dragging his semi-conscious body out of the museum. The story is left at a cliffhanger here where we need to wait for Hello Neighbor 3 to figure out who this individual was. But going through the multiple books and having done a video on Hello Neighbor 1, the doomed fate of Mr. Peterson is revealed, to how he kidnaps another child by the name of Nicky Roth, who saw Mr. Peterson keeping Aaron in the basement. To keep Aaron safe from the authorities, Mr. Peterson kidnaps Nicky and keeps him in the basement as well. After some time, Nicky manages to escape, sustaining an entire array of problems himself as an adult, having severe PTSD in form of a shadow which never leaves his side. To battle this past trauma,
Eigenlijk wat hij probeert te zeggen is dat die karakter Shadowman is.
he revisits Raven Brooks just to learn that Mr. Peterson abandoned the town, with his house being demolished as he was a stain to the quiet community, giving Raven Brooks a bad name. Therefore, unless the devs want to alter and branch out the timeline, there's only one way the story with Quentin ends: him failing to produce any evidence against Mr. Peterson to put him behind bars. The shadow person could be actually an individual who assists Mr. Peterson to keep his secret safe, stopping Quentin. Going back to Hello Neighbor 1, the shadow entity plays as a major antagonist, playing as the overshadowing trauma both Nicky and Mr. Peterson face. For Nicky, it plays as his fear he developed while kept prisoner by Mr. Peterson, and for Theodore Peterson, the shadow entity plays the role of his anxiety and crippling sadness after he lost his family. This entity was the culprit of Mr. Peterson stooping so low and becoming the villain who did everything in his power to protect the last family member that he had left. A traumatized and unstable Aaron who could never forgive himself for what he did to his sister. Mr. Peterson even went so far to spread missing posters of his children, breaking down, as deep down he knew he lost both of them, including a living Aaron who could never be the happy, imaginative child anymore. Therefore, this crippling sadness and madness that took over Mr. Peterson was in fact part of himself. So a theory I have is that the shadow character that knocks out Quentin in Hello Neighbor 2 is a metaphorical character. Despite what Quentin saw with Mr. Peterson getting trapped below a statue of a crow, the shadow is Mr. Peterson himself who knocks Quentin out, being his villainous alter ego who is filled with sadness, resentment and...
Hij zegt dat het de buurman is, maar de buurman ligt er ook onder. Of het is een robotbuurman, omdat hij wel sterk snel is. Het klinkt misschien heel dom, maar waarom is hij anders zo snel? Wie weet. Hello Neighbor 3 is in de maak, dus wie weet.
Madness. He plays as a mirror reflection of Mr. Peterson, a demonic entity which terrifies him as well and controls him. And that's it for Hello Neighbor 2.
Nou, mensen, dat was het dan. Ik snap wel een beetje hoe de story zit. De Mr. Peterson is een good guy. Maar ik denk persoonlijk dat het of Krijmeneer is, of Shadowman die Quentin knock-out heeft geslagen. Wat denk jij? Laat achter in de reacties. En vond je deze video nou leuk? Doe een duimpje omhoog, subscribe en dan zie ik je bij de volgende video. Doei doei!